Good morning and welcome to Rail's House. I've just been in the queue at Toolstation. Quite like Toolstation, you don't hang around on the checkout too long. I always do the sensible thing and write down the items that I want on a piece of paper before I go. You know, their little code numbers, and then when I get in there I can just fill out the ticket, go to the counter, get served. Otherwise, as I mentioned before, you get people spending hours going through catalogues trying to find the thing they want, or you get somebody, they'll order, I don't know, paint stripper and say, well, there's another type that's a bit cheap, and there's all this sort of stuff holds you up. Just get your numbers and go and order your stuff and get out. That's what I think. But Toolstation are very good, except sometimes there are items they don't have, or at least they don't seem to carry in branches, and it's not like they're big items either, they're sort of little items. And I wanted some of these. These are 25mm cable glands, and they fit in the consumer unit or fuse box to everybody, and they're a way of putting the cables in the box that achieve a fire rating, and without the cable glands, you know, I can't really do that. Grommets just don't cut it these days, not on the 18th edition, so I need a set of those. So, you know, 10 of them for just over £5, well worth it. But as I say, they didn't have them in branch, didn't have them in stock, so I have to wait a day for it to order them in. Just seems a bit ridiculous. Come on, Toolstation, get that one right. Yeah, but otherwise, the other thing I went and got was 10 of these. More socket fronts. They're budget line, but I find they're great. Just say 15-year guarantee. I don't know, what's the difference? MK, perhaps a more expensive socket and a better socket, but I don't know. These seem to work fine to me. But I was running out of them rapidly, you know. This house does have sockets in it, but those that were here date back probably to the 1970s, 80s at the most recent. So, you know, they're 40 years old, aren't they? And you put plugs in them and they don't really work very well. So, you know, something that needs replacing. And as I say, I'm putting in sockets and going through these pretty quick. So that's my job today. Well, actually, my job today is, it was discussed. Phil left a thank you for subscriber Phil, who asked me why I needed three-way switching for the back room. Well, if you imagine this was the ground floor and this was a patio door, I was just trying to think of possible scenarios, because of course when you move into a space that someone else occupied and you're going to be using it, you have to think about the way in which you use the space. So I felt if these would have been patio doors, that it would need a switch left or right to turn on the light in this room, which seems reasonable, and it's, you know, it's no hassle to run a cable around there, no bother at all. But perhaps you're right, perhaps it is superfluous. And as my other half said, she said, well, the only time is you might be down the garage and come back in, but she said if you were doing that, chances are somebody would be in the house anyway. Yeah, fair enough. Perhaps it's a job not worth doing. But what is worth doing, I've still got the central light. Conveniently, there's just a little single board, not even nailed down, just pushed in. So you can actually get to that. And I've decided I'm going to retain that central light. I will change the fitting. But as an electrician friend of mine said, when you're rewiring a house, always put in far more lights than you think you need. It's better to have the option and be able to turn lights off than having no option and not having any lights to turn on, or very few lights to turn on. A change of, you know, mood, look, lighting does add a lot to it. So, you know, I'm going to go through far more lighting cable than I am mains cable, I think. But yeah, so I'm going to replace this old 1950s, 60s single insulation stuff for some twin and earth 1.5. So probably what I'll have to do is go downstairs, unscrew that light fitting, which I have to say is not easy to get at the moment. Because there's a sofa and a chair down there and they're right underneath it. But hey ho, the only other option is to make a small hole and just try and push the cable in and hope I can pick it up later on. I may have to do that. We'll see. And otherwise, continuing with this painting and trying to get enough coats on the wall so that, you know, when my volunteer painters come in, they don't have their work cut out for them. They've only got to do a couple of coats and the rooms are done. As you can see, there are areas that are still patchy. That one I've got another mist coat on, but it needs more on it. Yeah, it's kind of never ending, the paint bit, but got to be done. Anyway, so that is Thursday morning. There will be no Ralph's house on Friday because I'm taking the day off. I'm going for lunch with someone on Friday, so that'll be Friday, so it'll be the weekend before there's another Ralph's house video, so do enjoy today's. And right, with no further ado, let's crack on. Alright, that's that replaced. I think you know, because these boards have been moved a fair bit and I've swept up a few times, you end up with an awful lot of debris in there, and I think I need to do a bit of that. I've got an ash hoover for stuff like that, so I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes. See, you've got all these wood chippings and stuff. Yeah, I know it disappears under the floor, but I mean, at least I could be tidy about it before I put the boards back. So let's get all that out. You know why I'm looking up at that ceiling? Because I'm going to start painting it. Yeah, I've made sure it's all off there, so right, let's get the roller, the tray and the paint. I suppose it's kind of satisfying watching somebody else paint, isn't it? And there'll be some painting expert, I'm sure, who'll say, oh, I wouldn't do it like that. I wouldn't do it like that. That's where the old ceiling raise was. Do you know what? I got that quite flat. I think that's going to disappear nicely. Hope so. I did. What I did, I banged some of my usual PVA, then a bit of bonding plaster, kept it below the surface, then polyfilled it, and then went over it with the sander. Well, you can see it, but yeah, I don't think you'll see it once it's painted. We'll soon find out when I get my second coat on. Oh, that's one coat. A little patchy, you'd expect it to be, wouldn't you, really? Anyway, it says a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours for that to dry before I can go over and do another coat. So what I'll do, I've got various bits to touch on the wall, so I'll spend the next hour or so painting those and making sure I've got it all. I've got a little bit of sanding to do in that corner. Might do that first. When I'm sort of stuck between jobs, sometimes I'm either waiting for filler or paint to dry, or I've had enough of wiring or whatever it is. I just start doing these door jambs. You know, they've taken a lot of knocks over the years. My father would never have bothered painting them. And of course gloss was the in thing, and my brother-in-law, he's gloss man. But come on, you've got to admit, that looks so much better. Doesn't hide, it doesn't show all the imperfections quite as much as gloss does. And so that's what I'm using. I'm using a silk matte, which has got a slight shine to it, but also it's water based, which I wouldn't use thin as base paint anymore. It's just not worth it. It stinks for one thing, especially gloss. Well, it definitely smells humid in here. We're doing all that paint. Yeah. Luckily the ceiling wasn't bare plaster. It did have a sort of, I don't know what kind of coat it was. It was a cream colour. It certainly wasn't plaster. It wasn't bare plaster, so I've just managed to get one straight coat on it. And if I'm feeling keen, I'll come over this evening and get another coat on it and hit more parts of the wall that look like they haven't been painted properly. I only want to just get the basics really, and not worry about it. Is that a run? Yep. Good job I caught that. It's probably come off the ceiling. It'd only show if I left it. There's another one. Well worth coming around and checking. Oh, that one's just plaster. Sand that off. Yeah, but the thing about mist coats is they do show up all the imperfections in the wall. And you know, you can spend an age doing a wall, but you won't really know if you've got it until you put that first mist coat on. And it'll show all these little dinks and dents. Like here, you see that? I hit that with Phil yesterday. Only tiny little things, but you know, they do show up. So yeah, definitely recommend a mist coat. I'm going to have to tackle these doors, and my original plan was to get them stripped, but apparently the stripper says 1930s doors, they'll just fall apart if you strip them. I don't know, maybe they're stuck together with fish glue or whatever it is. So the only thing I can do with them, in all honesty, is either replace them, because you can get exact copies of these doors, or just rub them down and just paint them again. And I think that's what I'm going to opt for. Just repaint them and not worry too much. So I'll just sand them down. Use an electric sander where I can. Take it downstairs, give it a coat of paint, and then put it back on. Yeah, but I do like these locks. This is my son's room, and being 15, he's going to want to snib that occasionally. Don't want parents coming in, fair enough. But this is so gummed up with paint, and they're lovely little locks if they're working. So I might spend the rest of the day, while I'm waiting for this paint to dry, trying to get the screws undone, get these locks off, because they're going to need paint stripper on these to get all these off. So if I cut very carefully around the edge, see where the lock joins the door, if I go right around that with a standing knife, so I get a clean cut, because obviously when I take all the paint off these, they'll end up going back to black, which would have been the original colour. But yeah, I'd quite like to get these locks going, because they're nice little snibs. Be all out of brass. Not sure about the handles. They are the right handles, but I think they've been painted as well, so God knows what colour. Is that red under there? Surely not. Not for the 30s. No, it's probably just caught some colour. But look at the state of these screws. Yeah, they're going to take a bit of shifting. But if I clean that slot out first, and as my stepfather said, put all your pressure on it with the screwdriver. Use mole grips if you have to, but on the shaft, and then just turn it. It'll crack those screws out, and it'll all come off. But I definitely need to do that. The bathroom door, which I'm doing the weekend, I've been nagged about that a few times. I am going to put a sliding door on it. I've got the track there, look. But in the shorter term, there's nothing to stop me putting the original door on and just taking the equivalent of that piece of wood off the bottom of the door. And so just temporarily you'll have to open inside like it did on the old bathroom, but you know, for all practical purposes, that's the last thing you want. It just takes up all your bathroom space just with the door open and shutting. Plus there's a risk you can hit the shower and stuff. So I'm going to put a temporary door on. I should do that on Saturday. I'll try not to annoy my neighbours that side or that side with my circular saw. I'll do it at sort of a reasonable hour. Get that door put back on. That'll be good. Anyway, that's it from Ralph's house for today. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for watching all of my videos. I'm always grateful. And if you're a creative and would like to do a Ralph's house intro, and to get an idea of the sort of thing that I'm looking for, have a look at the last couple of them, particularly the one with the sheep and the horse. Anything you can think of. It could be on a bus, you know, at work, whatever. Just do a Ralph's house intro, and I'll certainly include it on the intro if it's good. You do it on your mobile phone. Make sure you hold your mobile phone this way, not upright, and send it to me. You should be able to find me on Facebook. If you search for Ralph's house enough, you'll be able to work out where I am. And just send me a message through Facebook, and I'll include your intro on the next video if it's a good one. Anyway, thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. What else? Oh yeah, click the like button. Don't forget. I mean, you've watched it. It's only down there. Just, you know, click it. Or if you hated it, you know the score. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.